Hi, how are you doing? Today we are going to graph a quadratic equation on a graphing calculator. This is the exact same calculator that you use in the classroom. If you use a TI-84 Plus, this is what it kind of looks like. Because I'm using the computer, I'm changing my display so that way you can see the buttons a little better and move the screen over to the right. So here's my screen. This is just for the buttons. All right. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to put an equation in the calculator. All right. Our objective is to identify the attributes of a quadratic function from a graph or a table. And so we've done that by pencil and paper. Now we're going to do it on a calculator. All right, so I've got simple equations. I don't have anything really fantastic, hard. So we're just going to do so we can get the idea down. So here, the first thing we do is we're going to clear our calculator. So whenever you get your calculator, always clear it because you never know what's going on with it. So to clear it, you go to this blue button, second, you click that. You go to the plus sign, and if you look right above it, it says memory in blue. So you hit the plus, and then if you see over here, we're going to actually hit 7, then 1, then 2. Now this clears the calculator so that way if there's any been changes or somebody's changed it to something, we've cleared it out. All right, so and then you just hit this little clear button to get your screen. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is put our equation. So we're gonna put y. All right, we hit the y equal button, which is right here. We're gonna put the equation in. So let's do it together. The x or the variables that you want to put in is x right here. So you can put x. You're gonna hit this little caret right here. If you notice, it puts it in an exponent form, and then you put the exponent that you want in there. We want a little 2 for a square. Now, if you notice over here, there is a little blinking arrow here. So that's telling you to hit this arrow on the keyboard, to that way if you hit it, it will get you out of the exponent. All right, then we're going to say minus x, and then subtract 30. So we put our equation in now. Now there's a couple things we could do. We could actually go look at it and see what the table looks like. Okay, and the table, if you notice, is in blue right above the word graph. So we'll hit the second button, which is blue, and hit graph. Excuse me. And then you see that we have our table over here. All right. To scroll up and down the table, you just use the arrows up and down. Now, the table does help us quite a bit. The first thing we can kind of look for is our x and y intercepts. All right, remember, x-intercept is when y is 0. And if you look right here, here's my y column. There's 0. So this is, and the x is -5. So this is your x, one of your x-intercepts. See, because you got x where y is 0. So this is your x-intercept, -5, 0. This one is the opposite. This one, you have y that has a -30, but the x is 0. So when you're looking for the y-intercept, x will contain a 0. So this one here is our y-intercept. All right, and if we scroll through here, we might find another 0 for the, oh, there it is right there. This one is another x-intercept because the x is 6 and the y-intercept is, the y is 0. All right, so remember we're talking about a quadratic. And whenever you have a quadratic, that's that little square here, you're going to have you could have 2 x-intercepts. All right, so just by the graph, the table, we have found the x-intercept and the y-intercept. But let's find it on a graph. All right, so we graphed it here. Just hit this little graph button here, and you can see that we can't see the bottom of our portion, so we're going to change the window. Before we change the window, we really need to discover what's going on here. This number in the back is your y-intercept. Remember, it was at -30. So we need to, in our graph, that means this line, one of these lines is going to touch this y-axis at 30. Well, this scale is only it goes to 10, -10. So we're going to change our window view, and here's the window view right here. Click on that. And then we're going to scroll down to y minimum. Now remember, y -30 is my y-intercept, so we might want to choose a number a little bit lower. So let's try -40. So I'll put -40. And I'm going to change my scale. The scale's the guy right here. That's what it counts by. So we're going to say, let's count each line by 4. All right, now we're going to hit graph. All right, that was good. All right, so now let's kind of do this. All right, so let's find the y-intercept first. It's easiest because if you hit the trace button, the calculator automatically takes you to the y-intercept. And you can see, look, There's where our line crosses the y-axis. Here's the y-axis, and it crosses at 0 and negative 30. All right. Now, our vertex is going to be more, looks like it's going to be more over here on the right. So to find the vertex, the way you do it is I'm going to scroll, and you kind of pay attention to the y values here. All right. You kind of pay attention to this and see it's getting bigger, or I say bigger, we're negative numbers getting bigger. Let's just say it's getting smaller. It's getting small. It's negative 29, negative 29.8. There's negative 30. That's our y-set. Negative 30.1, negative 30.2, negative 30.24, negative 23, and 16. So you can see it looks like at 24, this is as low as it goes, and that is our vertex. So our vertex here looks like it, and we can round this off, but let's just use the actual numbers for this purpose. Our vertex is the point which it changes direction. It's like the dead point. It stops going down, and it's fixing to start going up. All right, so our vertex would be negative 4.5 and is 0.45 and negative 30.24. So let's just round this off, say negative 30.2 and 0.45. So that's our vertex right here. Our y-intercept would be negative 30. Now, do you remember what the vertex contains? It contains two things. See if you can remember them. One is the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry is a line that you draw straight, vertical, up and down, and it divides the parabola into two equal sections. We also call it the line of symmetry. In algebra, we call it the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry is our x value. See how it touches the x-axis here? It doesn't touch the y-axis. It only touches the x-axis. So this here is our axis of symmetry. It's our equation for the axis of symmetry. So if you're asked for the equation of axis of symmetry, you would say x equals 0.45. Now, this part here is the min or max. And the min or max is the lowest or highest the parabola goes. The vertex contains the min or the max on the y side. And as you can see, it's really kind of going down. And so this is a minimum value. And so the minimum value, the equation for that is y equals a negative 30.2. So the axis of symmetry equation is up and down. It touches the x-axis, so this is the x. The minimum value goes across. It touches the y-axis. It's right here. The next one is our roots. So our roots are where our line touches the x-axis. These are also called x-intercepts, zeros, or functions of zeros. All right, so you can see, look, it's touching right here. So if we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's negative 5. That means 1, 0, or x-intercept is negative 5. The other one is 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, sorry, I didn't count right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That one is positive 6. Again, that is where it's touching the x-axis. And if you remember when we talked about our table actually had these in here. See, here's 6 and 0, and the other one was negative 5 and 0, and there it is. So you can see it corresponds to the graph. Okay, so this is our y-intercept. This is our vertex, which also contains our axis of symmetry and our min or max. These are also known as our roots. All right, does it open upward or downward? It opens upward, which is up here. Okay, so these are our roots. All right, axis of symmetry goes through the vertex right here, and the min or max is right here. The y-intercept is right there.